Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch.
Yes, so President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has hinted at creating a new Ministry of Livestock Development to, help to curb the clashes between herders and farmers. He also inaugurated the Presidential Committee on Implementation of Livestock Reforms, and were expressing readiness to implement recommendations on ranching and other livestock reforms to enhance the economy. So he chairs the committee, that's the president now, and also appointed a former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Jega, as the co-chairman of this particular committee. And they are saying that this is to establish a separate ministry called the Ministry of Livestock Development, and they will develop the economy and give people the opportunity to excel, according to him while he was giving his speech. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajirin Galile, also said this in a statement, saying that the Committee on Implementation of Livestock Reforms was to address the obstacles in the agricultural productivity in the country. And they are looking forward to, having an agenda that will ensure, with international best practices, that people are able to have their livestock in peace and, stop some of those disruptions that they've been having in that area. So he says Nigeria's farmer herder crisis, which is more pronounced in the North Central zone, has lingered for over 2 decades, claiming over 60,000 lives since 2021. And, with this livestock reform now that will be happening, they'll find a way to bring peace in that area so that people can, do their businesses. The farmers will be able to focus on their business. The livestock merchants will also be able to focus on their businesses.
Okay, so I have the Federal High Court in Lagos on Tuesday ordered the final forfeiture of the sums of $16.5 million and 127 million naira fraudulently diverted from the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. According to the EFCC, the funds were diverted during the administration of ex-President Goodluck Jonathan. Justice Kehinde Ogundare ordered the final forfeiture of the funds to the federal government following an application on Tuesday by the EFCC. Counsel for the EFCC, Suleiman, told the judge that funds were found to be proceeds of illegal activities. According to the EFCC, the funds were meant for the implementation of international ship and port security projects. The judge had, on May 23, 2024, made an order temporarily forfeiting the funds following an ex parte application by the EFCC. I hope that something will finally be done. I hope these funds have not been spent because, they just keep going to prison. These monies, they don't repatriate them. We don't get them back. Most of them has been spent.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand how they keep doing the same things over and over again. I hope something.
I have a very sad story here. So Justice Rahman Oshodi, was a good story. It says that Justice Rahman Oshodi of the Ikeja Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Courts in Lagos yesterday sentenced a school bus driver, Michael Mowete, to life imprisonment for the defilement of a 3-year-old child. The judge said that the prosecution gave direct evidence as a survivor, despite her age, was able to narrate to the court how the man defiled her. According to the prosecution, the child was able to narrate that. Let me not even tell well, because
Thank God.
hard.
3-year-old.
So she said that when the baby got home, she told her mother that Uncle Michael touched me. And her mother was kind of brushed off, thinking maybe it's normal touch. Until she wanted to bath her in the evening. When water got to her private, she now started seeing how sore it was. She was like asking her what happened. And then he said he touched me, he jumped on me,
Oh, poor child.
So all that, but I'm happy that he's been sentenced to life in prison. I wish he got maybe something like castration in our law. We have, there's got to be something more than life imprisonment.
Yeah, yes.
But, the justice to this cause, and I'm happy that hopefully the child can be able to recover this trauma. Moving on now to the daily, so I didn't want to. It's quite heartbreaking. Food crisis. Senate warns of nationwide protest. Says food reserves empty. Reps asked the federal government to suspend implementation of the Samoa Agreement. Southeast town unions back governors' demand for Kanu's freedom. U.S. troops complete first phase of withdrawal from Niger. SANU, NASU hold nationwide protests, appeal to president over withheld salaries. NPAN worried over fate of abducted Kaduna-based journalists. Stop cursing Nigeria because of hardships, Jetima tells citizens. And FG spent 5.78 trillion on debt servicing in 9 months in 2023, says the Budget Office. Okay, which story are we going to take?
Yes.
Okay, the Senate considered a motion tagged urgent need to address food insecurity and market exploitation of consumables in Nigeria. This was co-sponsored by Mohammed Ali Ndume. And, you know, they were just talking about the fact that we have a food crisis. They're saying that, you know, that they can see that there's hunger in the land. Common man is unable to get food. They see that most people really just get like 1 meal a day as it is. They are aware that, you know, rainy season things get more expensive. But that beyond that, our reserves are empty. They said the silos are empty. Would need to import food that would need foreign exchange. So they will need to start talking to the presidency about that to see how, you know, that can cover up for what we have. But there was a sense of apprehension, you know, that this may lead to a serious problem. That yes, Nigerians are patient, and their patience is elastic, but it is not forever. You know, that there will come a point where we'll see them, you know, protesting because of this. So the government has to do something immediately. They also talked about fertilizers that had been awarded, you know, for different constituencies, and they said they still haven't gotten it, but at the meeting as well, they said that they will get it. So there's a time limit on that. And the Senate President says that at the end of the session, says that the issues that were raised, that if they were not addressed by next week, they'll be compelled to summon the Ministers of Finance and Agriculture so that they can come and give us...
I like that phrase.
Yeah.
Patience is elastic.
Yeah, it is. So Vice President Kashim Shettima is counseling Nigerians against insulting the country as a result of the hardship, stating that it will be impossible for abusers to benefit from a system they have cursed. He also reminded those portraying the country as failed that it was not all glooming. He says the health, petroleum, agricultural sectors are doing well. He was speaking at the 2024 Nigerian Risk Leadership Summit and Awards with the theme Connecting Risk, Resilience and Innovation for Sustainable Growth in Abuja yesterday. So he went ahead to say that there are a lot of opportunities in Nigeria, that we should be counting our blessings, that we shouldn't put our country down. It cannot be tales of woe all the time. That as bad as things are today, even with the inflation, there are sectors that are doing incredibly well. He said the health sector is doing very well. The petroleum sector is doing well. The agri sector is doing well, especially for those who are planting cassava. That's even on the farms, they get their cassava sold before they take it out into the market. That he's not saying things are easy. That he understands that the government has, you know, come up with a very tough reform or reforms. However, we have to position ourselves or reposition ourselves for the reform. That if you go out and say Nigeria is a shitty country, excuse my French, like he said, that you're going to get shitty results. That you cannot benefit from a country that you have.
Something you say, you preach that all the time.
Yes, we can't. And I would like us to, you know, take the lesson from what he's saying. He's not saying that the country is all good right now. Every country in the world has their crisis one way or the other, but we must pay attention to what we say, because it's the energy that goes up into the air. We need to be very careful while we're still working and holding government accountable to do all that they have promised.
So the House of Reps yesterday urged the federal government to suspend the agreement signed recently, the Samoa Agreement, until all controversial clauses were clearly defined to make sure they do not violate any law in Nigeria. As we said over the past few days, they've mandated the Committee on National Planning and Economic Development, Justice, Treaties, and Protocol and Agreement to interface with relevant government agencies to know the extent of the law and to ensure they reach out to the gray areas in the law to ensure that there's nowhere that is going to be violating our own laws. So, but however, the NBA, the Nigerian Bar Association, has said again, clarified that the controversial Samoa Agreement signed by Nigeria neither sought to compromise our existing legislations nor undermine the sovereignty of our country. So I don't know how many times we want to say that. So the federal government and the lawmakers are saying, please, hold on. NBA is saying, don't worry, we have checked it. It doesn't compromise our sovereignty. So it depends on how they want to go back and forth on this. Okay.
All right, then I have the newspapers Proprietors Association of Nigeria has expressed concern over the safety of Messrs. Abdul Ghaffar and Mr. Abdul Rahim, the Kaduna State correspondents of The Nation and Blueprint newspapers, respectively, who were abducted last weekend. NPAN, in a statement by its president, Kabiru, said more worrying is the prolonged silence from the abductors, who seized the journalists along with the members of their families, including wives and children. The trauma induced on both their biological and professional families by this condemnable event are better imagined. We call on the federal government to ensure the safe return of the journalists and their families by deploying all the necessary security assets at its disposal. We stand in sympathy with the families as we pray for their safe return. We appeal to the abductors to ensure that none of them come to harm, but that they return all of them safely. I really pray that, as the federal government, please should do everything that they can. It's really terrible, and I shouldn't set a precedent moving forward.
President has passed.
God help us. President.
That era has
Yeah,
passed.
people have been arrested. Nigerian Tribune, our final paper this morning. Let's take a few stories that we have not taken. NDLE arrests wanted drug baron in village. Mansion recovers meth, precursors, and guns. Reps back bill seeking to reserve special slot for women in the National Assembly and state assemblies. Police to charge man who climbed 120 feet mast with attempted suicide. And SANU NASU members stage nationwide protest over withheld salaries. Okay, so who has NDLEA? Let's take that.
I do. NDLEA has arrested who they have described as a major drug cartel behind the production, distribution of deadly psychoactive substance methamphetamine, popularly known as Mary. They arrested the leader of the syndicate. He's a 42-year-old. His name is Joaquin Mbono, and his associates in his mansion that is tucked in his village in Imo State. They said that it took NDLEA weeks of surveillance, and intelligence to be able to track them down. And when they did, they found these drugs in large quantities. They also found some chemicals. This is a precursor to that particular substance, and there were also some arms and ammunition as well on them.
Okay. That's all we can take on Front Page Review this morning. When we come back with our hot topic of today, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.